You may remember Benoit from Stewart Mountain Forge here on Vancouver Island, who made this awesome bardiche. He now makes dedicated throwing axes, which I've had a chance to try out, and I haven't thrown in a while, so this was a lot of fun. Okay, so you worked together with Axe and Grind on these, and they had certain requirements. Can you talk about what they wanted specifically?
Yeah, what they want for the World Axe Throwing League is specified by weight, so under 2 pounds. They're 1.5 pounds, and the idea is that weight helps it stick more, but keep the edge as thin as possible. Because usually when you add weight, it ends up in the blade, which we don't want. A minimum handle length with the head at 12 inches, and the maximum width of the blade 4.25. So these were made with some of their expertise and advice for specifically for throwing, and we try to get a nice thin edge and an aggressive angle, just so we have our axes stick in the wood as effectively as possible while requiring the least throwing force. So it'll give us more accurate throwing if we don't have to throw like madmen to get them to stick. And I've made these throwing axes with 2 styles of handle. One just curved as the scout, as they call it, or one as a hammer handle. So there's a lot of debate on which handle is best, but it all tends to be personal preference. So some like it thicker, thinner, this shape, that shape. It's very subjective, but I offer these as the 2 main subcategories that people go to. Really
if I hadn't been aiming for this, that would have been nice. Here's a close-up. You can see the taper, and I'm very glad to see that. A lot of axes on the market are just these thick wedges that don't really taper much, and then there's just this very aggressive steep bevel at the end, but these here are nicely drawn out, and that's what makes them stick so well. And it doesn't take a lot. It takes very little force to really make them stick, and that's exactly what you want. I haven't had much practice and botched a few throws, but overall the design made it pretty easy. And of course the botched ones are good for testing purposes too, because that puts more stress on the axe and shows you how durable it is. With these you couldn't even tell the difference. After the throwing they were a little bit dirty, but no damage, no dulling, and the handles held up very nicely. So I very much like the shape of that. There are a number of different handles. So there's this here, which widens just a little bit toward the end. If you hold up the other one, there's a straight, and this really is preference. At first, I thought I would probably prefer the straight because it seems easier to release because there's nothing to catch on the hand. But it's just different. It's not necessarily better, I found. I mean, I have little experience, of course, with axe throwing, but these are just my observations. It's mounted very securely here. Do you find a noticeable difference with a metal wedge as opposed to just wood?
I always put both. So the wooden wedge will spread in one direction, and I like to put the steel opposite the grain at a diagonal, help fit in all the gaps, and all the wedges are barbed. So they're not factory wedges. They're either wedges I forge myself or wedges I modify to have added barbs. So when they sink in, they're far less likely to come out than factory wedges. And these handles are really nice because the shouldering underneath the cheeks are quite thick. So the axe has less of a tendency to ride down if you miss and hit the butt end against the target. So it'll last a lot longer for throwing. And it's a standard eye. So any handle for this size of axe is going to fit.
And of course replacement is going to be important. If you throw a lot, you're going to break them a lot. Like, it doesn't matter what material it is, it doesn't matter how high quality. But the good thing with this, as opposed to the tomahawk hafting, this won't just drive out. If you hit with the butt end first, if it's hafted like a tomahawk, it'll just push it out. So here's the sheath. It's all well fitted. Axe head and the handle are treated with linseed oil. And there is a fancier version, which is this right here. So there you have a very nice finish on the leather sheath here with the pattern there. And the entire axe is satin finished. And it's got the engravings there. This is a really pretty looking one. It's too nice to even throw it. I mean, at least personally, I probably wouldn't. Although you absolutely can. It's the same steel, it's the same 5160.
I prefer spending 200 hours on something that's like up there. It's art at that point, it's you, right? I induction harden these. So they're differentially hardened and then thorough tempered. So just the blade for about ½ inch is hardened. And then I temper the entire thing to 300. Not as hard as we could get it. Most people use them for throwing. They're perfectly acceptable as a camping axe or just an outdoor axe. So I didn't, they're not modified so much that they're useless in any other role. Just I kind of added a, couple details that would make it better for throwing. But yeah, it's a good hard axe, not overly hard. You're unlikely to chip these, and they're going to be pretty forgiving. Not really meant for splitting like a log. You just don't have the weight.
I very much like these. These are a lot of fun to throw and well shaped. So I would definitely recommend if you're looking to get into axe throwing, especially if you're in the area on Vancouver Island. Absolutely check out his links down below. I'll put them there. And you do ship worldwide as well?
I do ship worldwide, so distance is no limiting factor. All you need is the axe, lumber, and like a circular saw and a drill.
Yeah.
That's all you need to be doing this. And understanding neighbors.
It keeps going in here.
Yeah. You're trying to chop the tree down behind it.
Oh, really?